in government feedback has come in terms of how to sort of incentivize the transition towards green mini grids or usage of renewable energy technologies due to the cost. So these are feedbacks that you could take to apply in your businesses as well. Saz, on the console, any questions from the online persons? Okay. So I'll allow Mr. Abel take the questions that were asked, and then we'll move on to the next phase. Thank you.
Thank you. So for the second question, thank you for asking. I think this is interesting. It means that in our broader or more comprehensive set of recommendations, how I'm interpreting it is that what we define as youth mainstreaming, or what we propose as youth mainstreaming, should also include mainstreaming of communication methods or approaches that specifically target youth, since they tend to be to use different tools, different content creation platforms, and so on. So yes, thank you very much for that suggestion. And then the suggestion on napkin as well. This is very interesting. So we are trying to arrange, as part of the range of interviews that we're working on, we are trying to arrange one with napkin as well. And this is an interesting proposition that some level of coordination between the different solar training or renewable energy training institutes with napkin, so that more advanced training. I know that napkin does train on various renewable energy subjects, and they have various courses. So this will be an interesting avenue of to see what they think, and if they've gotten propositions of this kind from anyone before. And lastly, on the energy efficiency part, yes, this is important. Thank you for raising this issue, but particularly for the scope of our work, I think we can include that as part of the indirectly, particularly as part of the way that SME costs are reduced, energy costs are reduced, that enable them to maintain the number of staff that they have, rather than having the cost exceed and run into their revenues. But no. Yeah. So before I go, I just wanted to ask one question. For those who run businesses here, when you have shocks to your revenue, to your company revenues, that you then have to, or you are forced to lay off a few staff members, how many of you are youths? Do youths tend to be say to represent the major part of those that are laid off? Just okay. But yeah. Mm. Okay. So there is no, because you are predominantly youth based, there is no particular demographic distribution of those who tend to be laid off. Huh?
Based on where based on where I reside, the community there, majority, I discovered that the women there, they are the breadwinners. So most times it's the guys that are, the youth, the male now, most of them are on contract. It's only when we have processes to be done and we require them, they come on board. But for the women, because they are breadwinners, I tailor their work in accordance to what needs to be processed so that they can come and earn their livelihood.
Okay.
Seriously.
Okay.
Because we have to support
All
them
right.
too.
Okay, we hope that you give a lot of the insights that you have during the breakout sessions. Thank you, Ma. Thank you. Thank you for all your questions. These are very helpful and will help to shape our work. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We're trying to run so that we can wrap up um, in good time. Not to worry, there's lunch available, so at least that sorts out some issues. Okay, so yeah, so just before the breakout section, we're going to ask a couple of questions. Now you've asked us questions, so now it's our turn to ask you. But we're going to, we're trying to go digital these days. 2020. So this particular Mentimeter QR code is for finance. So when we talk about green mini grids development in Nigeria, there are three sectors we're focusing on for this particular research. There's finance, there's policy, and then there's skills development for youth. So this is on finance. Once everybody is done with this, we'll flash the QR code for policy and then the QR code for skills development. Thank you. Please, if you're having trouble scanning the code, you can as well just come forward to please do it. Sorry for any inconvenience caused to you. While you do this, like Mr. Abel said, for the persons who raised questions of training, access to finance, if you've been following Clean Tech Hub, you know that we're big on running enterprise development and support programs, gender responsive programs, and also programs that target that are gender neutral as well. We currently have the application for the Eco FinTech going on. So if you are, or if you know anybody with an innovative green tech or climate tech solution, do well to go on our website or our social media handles to apply. There's opportunity, of course, for training, for access to networking opportunities, and also access to funding. We have some of our participants for our just concluded cohort 1 for the She Sustains Accelerator program. For that program, we had persons who won seed funding up to from between 1,000 USD to 10,000 US dollars as well. Cohort 2 will come up sometime later this year. Just to give you an update, so for yourself or for any other person, for your loved ones, just tell them to get on our website or social media platforms so that you can have access to some of these opportunities as well. Thank you. So how many of us have completed this part so that we can move on from finance to the other two sectors? Are we on it? How many of us have gotten on it? Oh, okay. So let me just give it like 3 or so minutes and then we'll move on to the next one. Thank you so much.
Please, we will encourage everyone to fill, because from our back end, we just have 3 responses. Okay.
Technical team, please confirm. Are there only 3 questions for?
Yeah, we see 8 responses now.
Just 3 questions?
Yeah, just
for this
3
one.
questions.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, not to take much of our time, the second QR code has been displayed. So the second QR code is displayed, and this is topics on policies. So please, you can scan the second QR code on the screen. And is related to policy. Please, we need this feedback. This is also 3 questions.
Yes, so this QR code is for policy. Once again, we crave your indulgence. Please help us complete the questions there. Like I said when we started, if you're interested in taking an interview regarding this particular research, please let us know, and then we'll fix it physically or online, so you can share insights and we can gather as much relevant information as we can for this particular project. Thank you. All right, technical team, could you confirm how many responses we have? Are we on the second? Are we on the second question? If we've completed it, so we can move on to the last one. Technical team, are we good to go to the next one? Ms. Joanne, are we good to go to the next one? Please, have we completed this section on policy? Hello? Have we completed? Can we move on to the next one now? Okay, thank you. So please, can we have the next QR code? All right, the QR code is up. So this is for skills development with relation to innovation, skills development, the need for employment. So once again, just please scan and help us complete it. Thank you so much. So while you're completing the questions, I'll just give off some information as well. So I've talked about the Eco FinTech Accelerator Program. The application is on and the deadline is 30th of August. So once again, if you have an innovative climate tech or green tech solution, please apply. If you know anybody that's an entrepreneur with a registered business in and around sustainability, climate action, climate tech, please apply. And you can, as I said, go on our social media handles. The application links are given there for the Eco FinTech Accelerator. There's a chance to win seed funding up to 2,500 USD to scale up that particular solution. There's also opportunities for training by world-class faculty, and then networking opportunity as well to meet government officials, government actors, and other relevant stakeholders in the industry. Coming up as well, CTH is hosting a first of its kind, the Nigeria Climate Finance and Investment Summit in October. This event will be holding at Lagos. This particular event, like the name sounds, when you hear finance and investment, it's basically focused on mobilizing private investment for climate resilience and adaptation in Nigeria. So some of the feedback we got during the Q&A was that it cost a lot of money to buy sustainable products, to drive sustainable businesses. So this summit looks to create a platform where persons, innovators, entrepreneurs, private actors can come together, meet with government officials, policymakers, investors as well, to sort of close that particular gap. Also, we have the West Africa E-Mobility Conference and exhibition. This is the second iteration. The first, the inaugural conference was held last year at Lagos, and this is the second iteration of that conference. So it's basically a conference to drive the adoption of electric vehicles, electric motors, be it two-wheelers, three-wheelers, four-wheelers as well. All of these are coming up, so and you can find more information on our social media handles or our website, Clean Tech Hub, as well. How are we doing with this last one? Do we have it done? Have we completed it? Is it still 3 questions? I hope it is. So, or it's more? So we just have 4 more minutes for completing the questions on this particular sector for skills development, and then we'll move on to the next activity. So next we have a breakout section. After that, a fireside chat. Because of time, we were supposed to use 30 minutes for the breakout section, but now we'll be using 15 minutes for the breakout section so that we can quickly get the fireside chat going and we can close this program in good time. So by 15 after 12, we'll wrap this up and we'll move straight into the breakout section. For the breakout section, we have certain persons that are going to anchor the groups, and then we'll randomly place people into groups as well. So the idea is to, a topic will be given to you, or a area of focus is just to brainstorm, talk about it, and then provide insights as well. This event is totally geared towards gathering data as much as we can, and so this is how we're going to move it. So breakout section, and next we'll have the fireside chat, and we'll begin to wrap up. Thank you so much for your patience.
For the breakout sessions, as Miracle had pointed out, we will be calling on 3 anchors who would graciously help us serve as the moderators for the groups. So there will be 3 of the groups, as he mentioned. Madam from CREDC, Madam, please, could you help us be moderator for the group on skills? The skills, yes. Thank you. Madam Sadatu from NCCC, are you here? Okay. Please, can you help us be the moderator on policy? So we'll be giving you a list of questions. All that the moderator will be doing is to so you initiate the conversation, you read out the question, and everyone within the group gives their responses, and you interact with them. Thank you. You have a supporting note taker who will be taking notes during the group. And then Mr. Kelvin from AEDC, are you here? Mr. Kelvin, thank you. Please, you'll just help us be the moderator for the group on finance. Thank you. And because the breakout sessions are particularly important for to go into as inputs for the research, we'll give, I'm begging Miracle to just add 5 more minutes to that time so that we get a deep conversation as well. So thank you. I'll hand it over to Miracle.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Ebel. So 5 minutes has been added. All right, we're at 15 after 12 now. So please, can we move into the breakout section? Mr. Desmond will help direct what the traffic is supposed to look like. So the idea is the anchors will take a particular position, and then their teammates or group members will congregate around them to complete this particular section. So we have 3 groups, one on policy, one on skills development, and one on finance, just like we did for the Mentimeter. These are the focus areas we're looking at for this particular project. So please, Mr. Where do you have, where are the
Okay.
anchors?
For skills, please, you can come to this table. You can come with a chair, come to this table.
We already have some free chairs here, so
Yeah,
they don't even
there are
need a
free
chair. They can
chairs. You
just move
just come,
it
sit
around.
around them. Then for policy, you come to this table. Please, can we make this fast? Yes,
Please,
where
we
you feel
crave your
comfortable with.
indulgence. Please,
Yeah.
skills is the first table. Policy is the
Policy
table in the
second,
middle.
and then finance is here,
And finance is
the
the
last table
table
here.
at the back, right at the back. Please, we've added 5 minutes and we started eating into the 5 minutes.
Finance, we have very few people.
People don't like money. I want to go to finance
Finance is here.
to get money. So please, you have, depending on where you're standing, but if you're in the middle of the room, to your left, to your far left, you have skills in the first round table. In the middle, no matter where you're
Finance.
standing,
Who's
the middle
finance?
table
Finance
is
here.
for policy, while the table to your far right, if you're in the middle of the room, would be for finance. Let's talk about money. So skills, policy, and finance. Please, as quickly as you can, address the questions that would have been placed before you. There's 20 minutes, and we're already 2 minutes into that 20-minute mark. So anchors, please pick someone that will take notes, because after this, you're supposed to like present some of the key findings from your group. So this is more or less a focus group, and you're going to present findings as well. If you have any question, you can ask Mr. Desmond, Mr. Abel, or Dr. Victor as well. Once again, we have the first table from the far left is the focus area is for skills. The table in the middle is for policy. The table to the far right, if you're in the middle of the room, is for finance. Please try and contribute as best as you can. Policy is in the middle. Policy is in the middle. The far right is finance. Far right, or the far end of the room. The back end of the room is finance. uh, that is implemented by Clean Technology Hub for in collaboration with the African Policy Research Institute with support from the MasterCard Foundation. And the focus is on youth actors uh, in providing clean energy solutions and to tackle employment issues and job creation issues as well. And the focus for Nigeria is green mini grids. We've had this sort of roundtable, as you see now. We've had this sort of roundtable at Ghana. The focus for Ghana was climate smart agriculture. We've had this roundtable event at Kenya, and the focus was e-mobility. So stay tuned on our social media platforms or any of our media outlets for information on the outcomes of those roundtable meetings. Are we finally together now? Are we back from the breakout section? Hello? Hello? So if you're just joining us, welcome once again. All right, so we're going to the fireside chat. Next, that's the next major thing we're doing. But please, the anchors for each of the three groups, please, we expect that you've put together some summary of what you talked about. So we would like you to please come share with us, just for a minute or two, come share with us what those findings were before we bring up the fireside chat, and then we'll wrap up this meeting. Okay, so all right, so we have Ms. Dorothy for the sector on skills. Thank you.
Thank you. Please, I would pardon me. I would rush this. I need to be somewhere now. So we talked on skills. For our group, the issues we discussed were, for the first one, are there existing skills, the existing skills needed in the sector, in the mini-grid sector? And then we said, firstly, we need hard skills, and then we also need soft skills. Under the hard skills, we have the informal skills and the formal skills. The informal skills, we have operators who operate the grid, the security guards. Those are examples of the informal skills needed for running our mini grids. Then for the formal skills, we said we need trained engineers and technicians who install the mini grid. We also went ahead to suggest that we need well-trained designers and installers for our mini grids. We found out that from our discussions, we found out that most times, if you can design the grid well, it will run well. You won't have a malfunction. So installing a mini grid, the start of it is the design stage. We need well-trained technicians and engineers to design it. Then for the soft skills, we need advocacy and awareness. We need people who can advocate and create awareness as regards mini-grid installations. Then we also said we need marketers who can manage clientele well. They have to have an in-depth knowledge about mini-grids and all it entails. Whatever questions are thrown to them, they should be able to provide answers. Then we also consider the issue, is there enough capacity to adopt and sustain renewable energy? Is there enough capacity in Nigeria to sustain renewable energy? Our answer as regards whether there's enough capacity to adopt was yes. First and foremost, we know the world is running towards green energy now, renewable energy. And Nigeria is treaty to so many treaties. The nationally determined contribution is there that we are signatory to. And so therefore, Nigeria has to adopt renewable energy. So do we have capacity to adopt it? Yes, that was our answer. But for sustainability, that was where we had an issue. No, we do not have capacity to sustain it yet. And these are our reasons. We said there are no checks and balances. We have equipment that are imported most times, who does the checking, if these equipments are right, if they meet standard, and then we also looked at accountability. There's funds released to install mini grids in local areas that are off the grid or that are underserved. How do we monitor the funds, to whom it is given, where it goes, and all that? There is a lack of accountability. Then we said there are no local manufacturing for the equipments needed to install mini grids. So that's why we said we do not have capacity to sustain it. So as regards sustainability, our answer was no. Now we provide solutions. We said government policies should be more practicable. We have a lot of policies touching renewable energy, but how practical are they? How practical are they? So we advocate that government policies should become more practicable. Then big-time organizations should be made to perform, at least to an extent, some corporate social responsibility. There are rural areas who do not have electricity. Corporate social responsibility from these big-time organizations, funding, we can get funding from them, and then these local areas that do not have electricity will have electricity. Then we also looked at education as a solution to, education is key, starting from the secondary level, secondary schools. We should look at the curriculum and retrofit it to meet current times. You know, we're looking at renewable energy now. We're moving from fossil fuel and all of that. So it should be incorporated into our curriculum, right from secondary level up to the university. We gave an instance of the Nigerian Energy Forum that organized a competition recently in July. And then Covenant University came first because they innovated. There was an equipment they innovated, and it was strictly powered by renewable energy. And what they said was that that's what they use in their kitchen in school. So they came on ground to showcase what they already had in school. So education is key. Now, the third issue we looked at is there enough innovation in the renewable energy sector? Our answer in that group was a capital no. And these are our reasons. Number one, we said no data. No precise and concise data. You can hardly go online to get precise data recent on renewable energy. And then we said education. Education is still lagging behind. Then we looked at local build. So we need locally manufactured equipment. Then, yes, we have to source for raw materials locally. Solutions to this, we need precise and concise data on renewable energy solutions in Nigeria. Then the curriculum in our schools should be upgraded to fit current realities. The world is moving towards renewable, so our curriculum in schools should also move towards that. Then we need to locally build our equipment. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Can we quickly have the next anchor for either this was for skills, policy or finance? Policy. Okay, thank you. Can we try and keep it short, please? There's no time. Thank you.
Okay, so my name is Chinyere, and I'll be representing the policy breakout session. So the first question was, are you aware of any government policies specifically aimed at improving finance access to startups in the solar mini-grid sector? So apparently, from our conversation, we found out that Nigeria actually has one of the best strongest policies in Africa, basically, in terms of policies influencing the mini-grid energy sector, because of we have so many access to finance. So, for example, we mentioned about 12 of them. For example, we have the willing buyer, willing seller. We have the captive power. We also have the mini-grid regulation of 2016, which is currently going revision right now. We also have the renewable energy strategy and implementation plan. But then there's actually some not backlogs per se, but there are like some loopholes we discovered. So the issue is that the major issue is awareness. So there are actually so many grants, so many fundings, but we're actually not aware of it. So in our group was like, she works with the labor sector, and she was actually quite surprised that there are so many fundings and grants. For example, we have the Power for All, the USAID that also completed recently. And also recently, the World Bank as well, they have a grant scheme of about 500 million dollars from World Bank for different mini-grid sectors. So basically, what you have to do is that you have to come through the government. So the policy is actually there to guide agreements, and obviously, you know that programs are actually powered by policies. So another thing we have is the Solar Power Nigeria, funded by the funded by the World Bank as well. So basically, the World Bank, the government tends to partner with different technological sectors, whereby they cover certain operational costs. And then you come in to buy your product, so you only have to pay for the production costs. But before you buy, there's like a software or a registration portal whereby you actually register, so that when you purchase a product, the government actually reaches out to you and gets your feedback, and to ensure that they sold it to you at the correct prices. Also, so another thing is that, okay, in terms of awareness, so the idea was that for any recommendation, another recommendation we had was that for any policy that is being sent out, we need trainings, and we need awareness and sensitization on certain policies. As well, you actually need to review some policies, right? They actually fit stakeholders and also fit the communities as well. So the second question was, so we'll merge the second and third question together. So how does the current state of solar mini-grid policy influence employment opportunities for youth? And okay, the next one is, does the current policy on solar mini-grid in Nigeria address and influence employment opportunities for youth? So it actually influences, but it's not direct per se. So it will not explicitly mention the youth, but at the end, actually youth-driven. So for example, now if there is a project and there's actually invitation to tenders, or you're trying to present a bid, in the invitation to tender, it actually captures certain requirements that, okay, 5% of your working population should be from, let's say, when it comes to inclusion, should be people with disabilities, for example, or you should actually, in as much as your company is bringing in the workforce, you should include the community. So a recommendation is that there should actually be follow-up on all these processes, on all these policies as well. And also, it can also be indirect in the sense whereby there is a work in the community, women can come around, or children or youths, and they are selling things around. Indirectly, you're actually patronizing them and empowering them. Although it's not related to the work that's going on, but in the long run, they are benefiting from such policies. So then looking at people with inclusion, so in as much as we're trying to include the youth in what we're doing, we should know that there's a very huge gap when it comes to skill sets. So we want to include everybody, but do we have the necessary technical skills? So that's why I also talk about, like the former speaker spoke of, we lacking skills. And then I studied engineering, for example, and for my 5 years in school, I don't think I actually had any explicit teaching on training on clean energy or renewable energy. It's only probably when you find yourself in internships or trainings outside your school work. So that gap is actually there. So we need to, that's why finance, policy, and skills, it still has a lot of interlinkaging and work that needs to be done in this aspect. Then I've spoken on the huge gap in terms of skill sets. Then yeah, so another recommendation is that we need to partner with NUC to actually adjust or modify certain school curriculums. Even cost across to people studying finance, even people studying law, they are all part of the people that come together for policy making. So they actually need work. There's work to be done, in as much as we're already making progress, but better things can be done. So, and basically, an emphasis on awareness, education, and sensitization. There are so many programs, there are so many grant opportunities. Even Clean Tech Hub, as a private entity on their own, they're actually offering grants. I think they mentioned something about it. So there is actually opportunities. So all we have to do is be informed and make the right decision. So that's it basically. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Please, you can come, sir. Final feedback from the finance sector. Can we please encourage him with a clap? Thank you. Thank you.
Sure. All right. Hello, everyone. So I anchored the session on finance. Okay, so I anchored the session on finance, and so there were some findings, and I'll just do a quick presentation of them. So basically, the first question was, how does access to finance or credit influence the structure and culture of startups and their impact on employability and employment opportunities? So I'm also going to quickly tie this to the second question, which also talks about why why does finance and credit influence employment opportunities, because they were really one and the same question. So one of the things that was raised during the discussion was that there was competition for talent involved in the sector, and that access to finance really hampered the mini-grid developers from being able to access highly skilled talent. And then there was also talk of being able to have sort of a talent pipeline to raise those who would also have those skills. And then there was also mention of without finance, right, companies will not be able to fund the staff even in their training and upskilling efforts. So that's some of the things that were raised. And then, okay, so for question 3, it was, are you aware of any government policies specifically aimed at improving finance access for startups in the solar mini-grid sector? And so even though there wasn't so much awareness of some of these policies, but there was mention, I actually learned about that today, right? One of the participants mentioned this policy that's available for renewable goods. It's called advanced ruling, where there's a custom duty waiver, right, placed on renewable goods. So if you're importing any renewable goods into the country, there's actually a waiver placed on that, and you can actually get advanced clearing and forwarding of those sorts of goods. But aside that policy, there wasn't really mention of any other policies relevant to the sector. But one of the things that we kind of concluded was that more can be done to create greater awareness of the already existing policies, so that even people can be aware of them and also take advantage of them, while we also move on the drive to create greater policies with greater differentiation as well. So yeah, that's just a short summary.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Please, a round of applause for yourselves, basically, for the breakout section. People didn't want it to end, but we had to move on. So, very quickly, we're going to go to the far side section. For the far side today, we have someone in our midst that would be responding to the questions that will be thrown at them. Mr. Abel, can you please come up? Mr. Abel will be moderating this section. Today in our midst, we have Mr. Folusho Alabi. I hope I pronounced that right. He's the Vice President of Africa at Ashipa. Sorry, he's the Vice President, Africa at Ashipa Electric. Mr. Folu is a Chartered Management Consultant, a Fellow of the Institute of Management Consultants, Fellow of the National Institute of Credit Administration. He is a member of the Nigerian Institute of Management, an active member of the Renewable Energy Association of Nigeria, REAN, a board member of Africa Mini-Grid Developers Association, AMDA, amongst others. Mr. Folu has over 16 years of experience in business development and management, with a strong understanding of the African market and vast experience across multiple sectors. Mr. Folu leads Ashipa Electric's business efforts in Africa and contributes immensely through AMDA and REAN in shaping policies that will guide the renewable energy sector across Africa. Mr. Ashipa deploys renewable-based solutions in off-grid rural communities and for commercial entities. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please, with a round of applause, welcome Mr. Folu Alabi to the stage today. Please, if you don't clap, he won't come. He's a fellow, is it triple fellow of so many entities. So, can you please clap? Can you please welcome him? This is the last session, so please don't be tired. We are wrapping up. Welcome, 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 sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Miracle. Thank you, Mr. Fola, for honoring us with your presence. This is an important discussion because the Renewable Energy Association of Nigeria is at the apex of representing the interests of renewable energy companies and particularly the mini-grid sector in the country. So it's a pleasure to have you here, sir. So what we'll be discussing largely rotates around strategies for improving the presence and visual of youth in the mini-grid sector. So I think it will be apt to begin, sir, by giving us a brief history of the Nigerian mini-grid sector and the role of youths in its emergence.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Folu Alabi. I'm happy to be here. Where is the fire? Yeah, so happy to be here, and I think it's more interesting because it's going to be a chat. So it's just going to be us engaging, right?
Yeah.
So again, thank you for having me in your midst. Back to the question, the history of mini-grids in Nigeria. I think you can't talk about mini-grids if you don't talk about generation, right? And renewables as well. I think the first solar installation was a 7 kilowatt peak system in 2 villages in Sokoto, I think Gotumo, Wanda community, in Sokoto in 1985. After that, there was another installation, I think in 1991, by Nitel to power their radios. But the first real mini-grid, to the best of my knowledge, was built in Egbeke, in Rivers State, by a company called GVE in 2012. And that was the evolution of mini-grids in Nigeria. And after that, we started having Gbamu Gbamu by Rubitech and other mini-grids that were built. I'm also happy to see that the evolution of mini-grids can be talked about without the role or the roles that youths or young Nigerians played in emergence, right? Most players in the sector are between the ages of 20 to 50 within the mini-grid sector. So I don't know, just for time, I don't know if I stop there.
Yeah. I know for the case of Egbeke, GVE, I know that he had done it initially as a when he was either in his final year or he just graduated, and he got his a funding opportunity. That's Ifeanyi Orajaka. So he was actually a youth. This was a young person just out of university who, an engineer, fresh engineer, who actually installed Nigeria's first mini-grid.
Yeah, I just finished from school then. It's an Olon University. So Olon financed that project. Today, I think in Nigeria today, we should have around 20 mini-grids in Nigeria today.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So, so what types of jobs then do youths most often get in the mini-grid sector at the moment?
Okay, so within the mini-grid ecosystem, there are different roles, right? And they're intertwined, right? From artisans to professional jobs are available within the entire ecosystem, mini-grid ecosystem, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that, like I said, it's a youth-driven sector because it requires technology, which is, of course, driven by youth.
Yeah.
It requires strength, again, driven by youth, right? So it's a youth-driven ecosystem. So from system design to project management, to welders, to masons, to civil engineers, electrical engineers, power system engineers, security guards, POS attendants. So may I say this? The sector has the capacity to provide about 400,000 jobs. That's just the honest truth.
Okay.
The mini-grid sector can provide as much as 400,000 jobs to Nigeria's youth.
Okay, that's very interesting. So, for these 400,000 jobs, in order to get there, what do you think are the key barriers that exist in employing youths within the sector? These key barriers that we need to address in order to get to these 400,000 jobs. So, why do companies or what is it about youths that companies may think are disadvantages involved in employing them?
Thank you. Good question. I think it's also important for us to look at the target market, right? I look at Nigeria as a whole. There's energy poverty, huge energy deficit in Nigeria. The gap between what we generate, what is supplied, and what we need is so wide. I think we need about 30 gigawatts. We only supply 4 gigawatts.
Yeah.
Right? So you can see the humongous difference. So that particular problem that is so obvious requires hands, to resolve. However, there are impediments to employing folks to solve these problems. One of that is the skill gap. So you find someone that studied Yoruba, for example, in the university, trying to match against, say, my company that requires or that needs a civil engineer. How do we match them?
And they are applying to your company.
And they are applying. So there's a mismatch, there's a skill mismatch, right?
Yeah.
Also, I think finance would also play another role, right? Because most companies, let me also say that this sector is still a budding sector. Most companies were started about 5 to 6 years ago. Most military companies were started about 5 to 6 years ago. So access to finance or corporate finance is very scarce. In fact, we just unlocked the commercial financial market. The local financial market.
Okay.
Like commercial banks in Nigeria. 5 years, 4 years back, they would not invest in your project. Right? And you need funding to pay people. So the backlash of that is that companies cannot hire because they don't have the money to pay salaries or befitting salaries. Right? Another thing is skill. Right? Without skill, you can't swallow up the available hands that are looking for employment. Right? How many mini-grids have you built? What's the pipeline of mini-grids to be built versus the unemployed youth? Just so you know, there are about 70% unemployed youths in Nigeria. Unemployed and underemployed. About 70% of youths in Nigeria are either underemployed or unemployed. So how do you swallow them all in without skilling? And you can also skill again without finance. Exactly. Right? So these are some of the impediments, blocking.
Okay. So skills mismatch.
And then policy as well.
Okay.
So I think we talked about that in my breakout group. The policies we have is not explicit on youth employment. It is on employing women, but it is not explicit on employing youth. Again, like I said, because the sector is youth-driven, right? So, if you have to now drive that, well, it's fine that you drive that policies should capture youth employment. But again, trust me, 95% of jobs available in the ecosystem can be done by majorly youth. Do you get?
Yes.
So you can. You have to drive that. I don't know how you can put it, but again, skills must match what you're trying to drive.
The job, exactly. So 95% of jobs available in the ecosystem can be done by youths, but there are skills mismatch problems, there are financial access issues, and there are policy issues where policies are not.
Allow me to also add awareness, right?
Okay.
So there are a lot of opportunities that most of these young people do not even know about.
Okay.
I'm sorry, but it's because they don't read, right? How many young folks out there research, engage, network, right, to understand what's going on within certain sectors where they can play a part, right? The awareness is not out there that there are these opportunities within this sector, right? So I think as another action that can be taken to ensure that we amplify the opportunities available within the sector.
Okay. So you are an active member of the Renewable Energy Association of Nigeria. So when I'm not sure if you've been involved with any of the policy advocacy components. Okay, you have. To what extent does RIAN have youths in mind when advocating for policies and representing youth priorities and youth needs?
Yeah, so I'm a board member of AMDA. AMDA drives policy across Africa. And then RIAN majorly drives policy in Nigeria.
Yeah.
And trust me when I say that they are very, very sensitive, or they are very careful to ensure that youth is covered as they push policies, right? But again, like I said, already the sector is youth-driven. The sector is youth-driven. You hardly find very old people within the sector. It depends on how you classify youth. Youth policy says youth is 15 to 35 or thereabouts,
Yeah.
20 to 35. I think it's 50, right? So it depends on how you classify. It depends on perspective, right? I mean, all these AMDA associations like AMDA, like RIAN, push policies that they are sure would benefit the youth directly or indirectly.
Okay.
Perhaps maybe we can call our attention to the fact that we have to be more specific, maybe.
Yeah. And that is I think that is what we are trying to do for youths, the notion of youth and youth employment to be more specific and explicit.
The average age of staff in my organization is about 20. Average age of everyone is about 29.
Okay.
27, thereabouts.
Okay. And for those who don't know, AMDA means the African Mini Grid Developers Association. So it's the umbrella body across Africa. So this is all interesting. What I'm getting from this is that at the industry association level, partly because the components, the member companies are very youth-driven, there tends to be advocacy directly or indirectly at the level. But since you had mentioned that policies do not adequately reflect youth priorities, although they do for women, does that mean that the advocacy that industry associations are undertaking are not feeding into the policies adequately, or are you saying that So are you saying that the government is not listening to what the industry associations are saying? In other words?
No, they are. Look at the policies within, look at the mini regulations, for example. Study them and digest them. You find out most of the policies will still capture enhancing youth capacities.
Okay.
And their abilities.
Okay.
So it does actually.
So I'm trying to synthesize. That means at the level of the sensitivity or the responsiveness of the government to the advocacy that AMDA and RIAN does, there is an inclusion of youths, but I guess the synthesis would be that policies that are not adequately, where industry associations like yours do not engage on, there tends to be, or industry associations that do not represent youth forces are not engaged on, then that is when you see the gap in the focus on youths. In other words.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we can do more, right?
Okay.
We can have partnership with Nigerian Labour Congress, with National Youth Council of Nigeria, National Association of Nigerian Students, the NUC. So there's room to improve.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is that already the regulations or the policies on ground already allows any smart young man or woman to come into the sector. That's the honest truth.
You just need the awareness.
Awareness. That's
All right.
But we can do better. I agree.
All right, thank you. Because of our time, I would like to thank Mr. Fola. This has been a good overview of the extent to which, as a mini-grid, as a high-level official in a mini-grid company, in a major mini-grid company in Nigeria, and as a member of the Renewable Energy Association of Nigeria, and also as a member of the board of the African Mini-Grid Developers Association, there is a level of interplay between the industry associations and the policy makers, partly because of the youth-driven nature of mini-grid companies in Nigeria, and also because of youth driving innovation in this sector. So I think that is a nice synthesis. Maybe we can have just one question for Mr. Fola before he leaves us. But can you please give a round of applause for him before he takes that? Thank you. Please, does anyone have a question? Just one question. Anyone? Okay, he says it could be a general question. Okay, sir. Yeah. Let me just give it to him.
Okay, once again, good afternoon. I am Shadrach from Cedar Seed Foundation, a disability youth-led non-profit organization. So I was privileged to be at the policy table with you, and during the fireside chat, we have listened keenly, and I want to ask how inclusive and how can we drive inclusivity of persons with disability in the sector, closing the gap. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks so much. Very good question. I'm a big fan of inclusivity. So I totally understand where you're coming from. Again, this sector is just budding. It's just a growing sector, right? And the policies available are not clear, or explicit about inclusivity when it comes to people that are specially privileged, right? However, just like we discussed there, I believe they are within the ecosystem, and because this sector is a physical sector, it's an agile sector. You need to move, go to sites, go to dangerous zones, all right? Because after all, you're powering last mile communities. You're going to islands, going over water. It's tough, right? So there's a limit to how you can expose certain people within the organization to, right? However, I also agree that there are positions, there are roles, desk roles, that people with special needs, with certain skill sets, can take up, right? And as a way of driving policy, I think you can come up with something, and I can take back maybe to REA, NERC, Ryan, and AMDA. Of course, we push it back, using our different channels to push for some form of space within the policy documents for folks with special needs.
Thank you, Mr. Fola. Okay, we have one more question. So I'll just allow, sorry for everyone, but let me just allow our madam to ask a question.
Thank you so much. My name is Victoria Henyetu, the team lead for Hydro Vision Hope, and also a core member. I just want to ask two questions generally. In as much as we're trying to encourage the mini grid to come in place, I was thinking, or I would want to know, what are the best practices, sustainability practices that has to come on board for long-term go so that whoever that is investing in this thing will not be scared, one. And secondly, I'm a geophysicist, I'm a geology student, and we know much about the fossil fuels. So when you're talking about this mini grid solar, I see it as something like a threat to the oil and gas or the fossil fuels, those into the fossil fuels. So what policy can can we come about in that sector to just encourage these folks that see, we want you people to also, you know, as of yesterday, I wrote an essay concerning stuff like this, and I was trying to tell them that, see, why don't merge with some like this sector, see how to, you know, invest in them, and also see how to encourage Nigerians, you know, some stuff like that. So what are the policies that can also back up just to so that they don't see this thing as a threat? That's just
Absolutely. I get a question. Thank you so much. I think they're very bright, very bright questions. First, speaking to sustainability, right? The key to success of every mini grid has to be sustainability. Certain mini grids or certain projects have failed because sustainability was not planned for, right? So sustainability is key. We were discussing earlier when we were in the finance group today. We're talking about your running cost, your cost of keeping the site alive. And it goes back to the organization understanding that there's going to be running costs. There's going to be OPEX, right? You know, but if you look at, most times look at the financial ask as they speak to financiers, all they ask for, all they see is CapEx, the cost of building the sites, right? And because you've not budgeted to manage those sites, it's going to bounce back, you know. So developers need to understand that they go pari passu. There is the CapEx, and there has to be the OPEX, and even ongoing CapEx for changing batteries after the lifespan have expired. Also, the quality of equipment that you deploy is very important, right? You need to ensure that you deploy tier 1 panels or tier 1 batteries and the likes, so that you have a longer period of using those systems. Also, policy-wise, I think that's on the policy side. So there's policy trying to guide around PUE, productive use of energy, right? And I think so there's a program coming up now, the DES World Bank project, that's dropping about $750 million into the mini grid sector, and AFDB about $450 million in the sector. That's about $1.2 billion available now to build mini grids over the next 5 years in Nigeria. And part of the condition precedent for you to have access to a grant agreement will be your ability to show sustainability, right? And it has been tied now with PUE, such that on the sites you got, communities you go to, you have identified the productive use elements in there, you know, rice millers, you know, cassava millers, towers, you know, cell sites, and the likes, right? And what that does is that, because the kind of agreement will be different, that you're going to have with C&I is going to be different. So you have a C&I customer, for example, in a mini-grid community, they're going to sign a PPA, a power purchase agreement, which means that you must always provide power to that entity, right? So if you have that kind of agreement, it means that you must be in that community for as long as that agreement lives. So all that's going to do is to tie you down in the community, ensure that the community remains alive. You know, that was not done before, and that's why you have so many orphan sites. For the fossil fuel, most of the time, for the companies that do, you know, oil and diesel and petrol and the likes. So if you notice, companies like Wando, Total, they're all diversifying, and you see that they're starting. Wando, for example, brought in the first EV bus to Lagos, right? So they're also going to clean energy right now at this point, because they understand that's the future of energy. However, I am of the belief that we cannot totally not do without those things, right? Because when you refine crude, there are several other items you get out of crude outside just diesel, and so you can't really do without them. However, we can find policies. Uh, we can look at policies that can protect those companies as they come into the renewable energy sector as well.
Thank you, Mr. Fola. Please, I just crave your indulgence, please. Two more questions, two last questions, and please keep it to one question and just 30 seconds, please. And even the answers, please, Mr. Fola. We'll interview you later, please.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lois Ota. From the Green Economy Logistics. My question is, how can we capitalize on carbon market, carbon credit? There's a huge opportunity for this platform to thrive. I'm very aware that when Osibanjo was on seat as the vice president of this country, he tried to bring investors on that sector, but bureaucracy and one thing and the other, it could not take place till he left the office. So we, being the stakeholders in this critical market, how can we utilize it? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Fola, please.
So very quick.
Yeah, very
quick. So there are companies that buy your, like, I sell carbon credits to. There are companies that provide carbon credits. So they come to you and they buy off you, right? Most folks in Nigeria are not already exploiting that, but in countries like Germany, US, some folks buy carbon credit. So I know of a platform that can use your carbon credit, to refinance a project, right? So it's just way to put your eyes out there. There are opportunities out there for you to make good use of your carbon credit.
Yeah, and I think in the context of our topic, carbon credits are one form of access to finance that can help scale up the sector to absorb more jobs. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Good afternoon. My name is Chichi. So I wanted to ask, there's a partnership, there's something we started doing with real estate company. We go into partnership with them for a land lease for a longer period of time. We focus on farming, they focus on the land, they give us the land, we do. So I'm wondering, is there a way that businesses that are not able to have the capital for the grids are able to have this kind of partnerships for long-term payment period, so they can have grids to power what they are doing or to power equipment for their offices? So I'm asking, is there a possibility that companies that produce mini grids or that supply mini grids can go into partnerships with maybe food processing companies or manufacturing companies that run equipment on high energy, go into a long-term partnership that enables us to have access to the grids, but pay in instrumental, like a long-term partnership? Yes.
Absolutely. So very good question. So within the mini grid sector, I mean, there are different opportunities. There's community mini grids where you go to the villages and the rural communities, last mile communities, to dump your mini grids. There's also the C&I sector that you find, or interconnected mini grids that you find in rural settings like where we are right now. So yes, there is actually. And like I said initially, it's going to be PPA bound. So it's going to be a power purchase, right? You do not have to deploy any capex on your side. The developer or the mini grid company would source its own finance and then build and sell power to you back at an agreed price or tariff over a period of time, right?
Us again, yes, and we'll see you another time. He has to go now. Thank you, and I'll hand it over to Miracle.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We are wrapping up now. So, to bring us to a close, I'm going to call on Ms. Dosun. She's the Chief Programs Officer for Cleantech Hub. Ms. Dosun will come up to just state some next steps by way of continuation of this particular project, give the closing remarks, and then we'll take the group picture, and then you can go for lunch, and that will be the end of today. So can you join me in welcoming Ms. Dosun to, what's happening? Nobody's.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for coming here. It's been a long road to this place, and it's just the beginning. This is just the first phase of what we're trying to do. We wanted to talk with all of you, get your perspective, and then we'll go back and put everything that you have told us. So hopefully there will be a report on this event by the end of this month. They will be clearly represented by Ms. Sarwa. Ms. Sarwa, if you could just raise your hand so that everybody can see you. That's Ms. Sarwa. She's the reason why we are all here. So I guess you all clap for her. If not, we won't get food to eat this afternoon. So thank you very much, everyone, for being here. A lot of the things that you have said at Cleantech Hub, we'll also take this and put this in some of the projects that we hope to do in the coming months in communities. So we thank you very much for coming, taking out time on a weekday to be here. It's not lost on us, so thank you. Lunch is already served at the restaurant, but I'll just crave your indulgence that we just come up here and take a group photograph, and then we can go downstairs for lunch. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Also, please do not forget a big feature for this meeting is the opportunity to network. So we have, like I've said, we have policymakers here, government officials here, entrepreneurs, private actors. So please do well to meet someone, get a phone number, get an email. You could be meeting a potential partner. Also, like I said earlier, if you're interested in conducting an interview, taking part in the interview series that we're initiating to gather further data for this project, please, you can reach me or you can reach any of the persons at the registration desk. A few persons have already indicated their interest as well. We'll respond to the person later. So this, we're supposed to have that at the background. So see, we're supposed to have it. So what we can do is move the. What we can do is this: move the projector to the left, so that guy moves to the left. You understand? So it's just there. Yeah. Oh yeah. All right, please, can we come to the front, please, to take the picture, please? Please, if you're endowed with height, kindly go to the back. If you're not so endowed, please be at the front. If you're tall, you can sit. No, if you're tall, you're supposed to go behind. Please, if you're tall, please sit. tall in spirit, please stand. Please, if you're tall physically, Mr. Polu, could you please come? There will be opportunities to network. Please, there should be a sort of gender mix for this picture. So